Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today it's going to be a quick video. I'm going to take you through my editing process. So this is a photo I took of a man who was sitting by the lake. He seems a bit lonely, looking at his phone all alone near a beautiful lake on a bright sunny morning. So I'm going to take you through the editing process where I try to achieve somewhat cinematic look for this photo so that it brings out the mood, the loneliness of the man. So the first step in the editing process is always going to be cropping. But since this photo doesn't need much cropping, I'm going to just leave it as it is. But usually in my other photos, I would start with cropping. The next step in the process is going to be light adjustments. So I'm going to go to the edit tab and I'm going to start with the light adjustments. The first thing is going to be adjusting the exposure. So for me, this photo looks too bright. To achieve a cinematic look, I need to reduce the exposure. So let's do that first. Okay, that seems good enough. Now I'm going to do the contrast, and to achieve a cinematic look, I need more contrast in this picture. So I'm going to increase the contrast. Okay, that seems about right. And I'm going to reduce the highlights because all these areas are too bright. Okay, that seems about right. And I'm going to increase the shadows so that we don't lose much detail in the shadow areas. And then I'm going to reduce the whites and I'm going to increase the black a little bit. So now we can see the comparison between the original and the current version, the before and after. This is the before, just too bright. Now we have achieved some sort of mood with the light adjustments alone. But that's not all. We also have to adjust the S-curve. Since I want more of the shadows in this image to bring out the mood, I'm going to create the divisions in the S-curve. Yeah. So in order to achieve a cinematic look, we don't need deep blacks. We need something called creamy black. As you can see here, here, and here. It's not entirely black or not a deep black. It's kind of black. So that's the kind of black we need to achieve any kind of cinematic look. So I'm happy with this results. I'm going to just leave it be and we'll move on to the next step, which is the color adjustments. So I'm going to scroll down. The first step in color adjustments is always the temperature. But in this particular image, I'm happy with the temperature. I'm not going to make it more warm or cool. So I'm going to just leave it at 0. In order to reset these sliders, if you just double click, it'll reset to 0. For example, if I move it here and if I don't like it, I just want to make it 0. Instead of moving it back like this manually, you can just double click on the slider and it becomes 0. Now, coming back to the adjustments, so I'm just going to leave the temperature as it is and I'm going to change the tint a little bit. I want to make it a little greener. So I'm going to move it to the left. Okay, that seems about right. And I'm going to increase the vibrance. All right. And the saturation has to come down a little bit. Okay, that seems good enough. Now, let's get into the individual colors, the color mixer. So we'll start with the red. So in order to achieve the cinematic look, we don't need too many colors or too much color. So everything needs to be in some sort of balance. So I'm going to start with the red. We don't have too many reds in this picture except for these areas on the platforms and maybe the soil and maybe something on the train. So I'm going to leave the hue as it is and I'm going to reduce the saturation. We don't want any color to be overpowering. Reduce the saturation, let's say about 50. And we'll leave it there. And the luminance also I'm not going to touch. Let it be there. Let's go to the orange. Again, we can say this is red or orange. It's a mixture of both. So I'm going to maybe try and reduce the hue a little bit. Yeah. And the saturation, we need to reduce the saturation because we don't want the orange to be too overpowering. Okay, that seems good. And the luminance, maybe we'll increase it a little bit. Yeah, I'm going to leave it there. And we'll go to the next color. That's yellow. So I really don't want any yellow in this image. So I'm going to bring it down all the way to -100. And the saturation, I'm going to reduce to let's say about 1/3 of the way. Let's keep it at -30. And the luminance, I'm going to bring it up, let's say 1/4 and leave it at 25. Okay. So now you can see the orange and the yellow are not too overpowering. So let's move on to the next color, which is green. So I'm going to leave the hue as it is and I'm going to reduce the saturation to all the way to -100. Now you don't want any green. So even after reducing the saturation to -100, you can still see and understand that these are trees. There is a little bit of green still there, but you don't need too much of green in order to achieve a cinematic look. So the green is reduced to -100, and I'm not going to touch the luminance in green. So the next color, I don't know the name of this color, probably it's turquoise. You guys can let me know. So with turquoise too, I'm going to reduce it to all the way to -100, and I'm not going to touch the hue or the luminance. I'm going to go to the next color, blue. Again, we don't want all these blues on the water, so I'm going to reduce it all the way to -100. Now you can see there are hardly like 2 or 3 colors in the image, and we are getting closer and closer to that cinematic look that we want. Let's go to the next color. I think that's magenta or purple. I'm really bad with colors. I don't know the name exactly. So here also I'm going to reduce the saturation all the way to -100. I'm not going to touch the hue or the luminance. And the last color, let's call it pink. It says magenta over here. Okay. So what was the name of the other color? It's purple. Okay. All right. This is magenta. So I'm going to again reduce the saturation to -100 and leave the hue and luminance. All right. So we are kind of done with the color mixing of our photo. So I'll just show you the before and after of this image. So this is before. You can see it was bright, and you can see everything. You had too much detail, but now it has been transformed into the cinematic looking picture where you're able to get the sense or the mood of the photo. The loneliness of the man is more profound now because of the color adjustments we have made. We can leave it as it is if you like, but I would like to put more focus on the man and reduce the focus or take away the focus from the background. The background here is too busy for me. You can see the platform and some things on the platform. You can see the trees in the background and the trains. So all those things are a bit distracting from the main theme of this photo, which is the man and his loneliness. So I want to pull the viewer's eye towards the man and not the background. So let's scroll down to the effects section, and I'm going to start playing with the texture first. So I would like to reduce the texture because there are too many details here which I probably don't want. So I'm going to reduce the texture, and I'm going to increase the clarity. Okay, seems good. And I'm going to dehaze it by increasing the dehaze. And the vignette, some people like it, some people don't like it, but I always use vignette at least a little bit just so that the focus is towards the subject of the image. So that seems good. Now you can see the focus is really pulled towards the subject. So if I reset this vignette, you can see the edges of the image are a bit distracting. So I really don't want that. So I'm going to add some vignette so that the focus of the observer is pulled towards the subject more than the edges. Moving on to the sharpening section or the details section, and I would like to increase the sharpening a little bit so that everything doesn't look too soft. Okay, that seems good enough. Now you can see that I've already done the enhancing part. I didn't shoot this image in RAW format. I shot it in JPEG. For some reason, I didn't realize that I was shooting in JPEG. But anyway, so when you didn't shoot it in RAW, you cannot use the denoise option. You have to use the enhance option. If you want to know where the enhance option is, you just right click on the image and you click on enhance, and then it will give you an option. Yeah, it says it's already enhanced because I've already enhanced it, but you can use that option if you shot it in JPEG. But I would advise you not to do that. Use the raw image because that gives you more freedom, and it works well with the denoise. But anyway, this image has already been enhanced. I'm going to use the blur effect to reduce the focus on the background. So this blur effect really works well in Lightroom. I really love that. So the AI is fantastic, I would say. So right now you can see it's doing its magic. So let's wait for a moment. So I think you can see that already it has applied the blur. As of now, I'm already happy with how it looks, but maybe if we play around with it, maybe we'll get a better image. We'll see. So I'm going to increase the blur amount, and it does look a little better than before. So I'm going to leave it at 75, and you have the bokeh shapes, the bokeh or the bokeh, however you want to call it. So the bokeh, you have different shapes like entirely circular ones or other shapes. I don't want to name all those things. So you can choose any bokeh shape that you would like. So I'm going to play around with the other shapes and see which one I like. So right now you can see the bokeh is in circle. So you can see some bokeh here which are in circular shape. let's try this one and see if it changes anything. I don't think it changed much. Let's look at this. What do you call this? A pentagon shape. Okay, let's see. And it didn't change. I think it changed a bit. You can see the pentagon shape bokeh here. And how about this one? It says donut shape. Okay, let's try the donut. Okay, I think I like that better because it kind of gives a different kind of bokeh than the bokeh we are used to. But I will also give a try with the last one called the cat eye. Let's see how the cat eye looks. Okay, I'm not sure I like that. I really like the donut shape a lot, so I'm going to retain the donut. And if you want to boost the bokeh, you can do that using the slider. If you don't want to have too much bokeh, you can reduce it. If you want to have a lot of bokeh, you can increase it to up to 100. So I'm going to see how it looks. I think that's too overpowering, so I'm going to leave it at, let's say, 55. Okay, so I think we've achieved the kind of cinematic look that we wanted to achieve. The mood of the photo is kind of conveyed here much better than it was before. You can see the man is sitting there lonely looking at his phone, and this kind of color grading or color corrections brings out that emotion. So I just want to show you the before and after comparison. This was the original image, it was too bright, and now the edited one. So this looks more cinematic. So just to recap, we started with cropping. I didn't really crop anything because I was okay with the aspect ratio as it is. And then we did the light adjustments, and then we did the color corrections, and then we did the effects using the lens blur and texture and clarity and all those things. You can also use the denoise after the cropping if you shot the image in RAW, but otherwise you can use the enhance option if you shot the image in JPEG. So that's all for today. So I hope you liked this tutorial, you can say. So I'll catch you guys in the next video. See you all later. Thank you so much.